Ladies and gentlemen, toys and squirrels, we are so back again with Andy's Angle, brought to you by I-70 Sports Media. And what a day. It was a good day. It was a good day at work. It was a good day for the St. Louis Cardinals. One sec, let me check how, let's see, Cubs score. Final 2-0. The LA Angels go in and beat the Cubs at home. The Cubs are officially 2-3. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, but we are happy to see that, right? Because they suck, and we're winning the World Series this year. I don't know, but honestly, just a great night watching the St. Louis Cardinals. Going into it, Kodai Senga is a stud. And respect where it's due. 9 strikeouts. Absolute gas. He made it look easy. He's hitting like triple digits. And it almost made it look like if he just gave me lessons, I could hit triple digits too. That's how easy he made it look. I was a swimmer in high school. I swam in high school. You can, right here. We set a little record ski in the medley relay, so I was decent. I wasn't amazing, but then again, good enough for my mom to frame that for me, which is kind of neat. But it's kind of like in swimming when you watch someone that like Michael Phelps or Ryan Phelan or Lochte or whoever, they just glide. They glide through the water, and you're just like, how do you do that? I feel like I'm putting in so much effort. And I feel like a lot of MLB pitchers probably feel the same way when they see just like a Paul Skeens, Scooble, or at this point, Kodai Senga, who are just out here just effortlessly throwing triple dig. And I'm like, dude, so that was cool. To recognize real kind of moment as far as, holy hell, this guy's good. But then again, giving up 2 earned runs to none other than Ivan Herrera. And not in the DH position. And that's one of the main things that I want to talk about here tonight in this post-game review. He had himself a night. He looked fantastic behind the plate. He looked fantastic. He looked in control of the game. And to be honest, I feel like Pages does too. Obviously not too successful when it comes to challenges and things of that nature. But he really looked confident with every pitcher that was on the mound. So I thought defensively he really played a good game. But then again, 2 base on balls, get on base. That's what we need. You know what I mean? That's what we need. Then that RBI double against none other than good old Senga. Senga. Yeah, right. This is Herrera, But just both sides of the baseball look fantastic. You know what I was thinking? And they kept panning to Yachty sitting over in the dugout, kind of analyzing the game. You didn't get an interview. It was just, hey guys, Yachty's here. And you almost felt that tonight. Like, Herrera just looked in control of the game. And I was so surprised because I didn't really pay attention during the game, but in the post-game interview, I saw that he was wearing a Nike, catcher's gear. Put him in Jordan. Let's go full-blown Yachty 2.0. Put him in Jordan. That's what I want to see. That's the confidence I want to see out of this guy when he's behind the dish, because that opens up the DH. It opens up the DH. He was our DH all of last year, it felt like, when he wasn't hurt. No fault of his own, but it's like, dude, put him in Jordan gear and let him catch. Just let him catch. Put Pozo at DH. I don't know. Dude was our best pinch hitter last year. I don't care. You don't have to worry about it because it's open. We can decide, you know? So I really I was kind of thinking that when I was watching the post game. I was just like, dude, if he was in Jordan gear, imagine how fire that would be. But, overall, don't want to beat a dead horse again, but he just looked great. Palante looked fantastic, As far as, numbers that'll knock your socks off, yeah, biggest one, 6 shutout innings. What more could you ask for? I don't give a shit about 9 strikeouts. I care about 6 shutout innings, which Kodai did not have. So that's huge. I thought that was fantastic. Ground balls, and the biggest thing about the ground balls are defense. Just, it looks great. It looks great. If you can keep the ball in the park, it's almost a guaranteed out. Like, outside of the small ball shit that we keep dealing with, the teeny tiny little blooper, bunts or like, tapper ground balls that just get to the right spot. Overall, I just think that Palante, and it's funny, I tweeted about he looks gassed in like the 3rd inning. And then I thought to myself, I was like, I think that's just him locked in. Sonny Gray was the same way. He'd be sweating in the 1st inning, and he just looks gassed. But then again, all of a sudden he's sitting there with, 50, 60 pitches in the 3rd inning and still makes it through the 6th, and you're just like, shit. Then he settles in. You think he looks gassed. Also, shout out, Exile Ruthie. Little NA ski again. Big NA guy. Love my NA beers. If I came on here hammered, that would be incredibly difficult to do. So, shout out Ruthie. But anyways, Palante looked fantastic. Change up, fantastic. Thought it looked great. So with Palante on the bump, with, Herrera behind the plate, I just thought that 1-2 punch was phenomenal. Especially with Herrera behind the plate and then being effective with his bat. I thought that was great. One of the main things that I wanted to talk about tonight was Victor Scott. That guy, please do not move him from the 9 spot. Please do not move him from the 9 spot. I don't care if he hits 600. Do not move him from the 9 spot. And the reason is the top of the order looks fantastic. And when Victor Scott gets on base, which he has done very well, then JJ comes up and either moves him over or scores him. Or he moves over himself. If he hits a single or bunts for a single or whatever it may be, infield grounder, whatever it may be, Victor gets on base, you have a great chance of him ending up in scoring position and JJ either moving him over or scoring him. That is a huge advantage. Because then it doesn't matter. When you're at the bottom of the order, they're like, "Oh, here comes the bottom of the order going into the 4th." And you're like, "Okay, but Victor Scott's on deck." And so, you come up here, Victor Scott gets on base. Next thing you know, you got 1 out. You got Victor Scott on 1st. Then he steals 2nd. You still got JJ in the box. Next thing you know, JJ hits a single. Maybe golly, he had some cuts. I thought it was gone. But, missed a couple. It is what it is. I think he had 2 strikeouts. But he's so young, and he looks so damn good. But that's not my point right now. The 9-1 punch between Victor Scott and JJ, I think, could be absolutely lethal. And then you have Herrera back him up, and then Burley come in. I love it. I love it. And so if we could just keep that kind of momentum going, he's just getting on base. And what we need is Victor Scott on base. If Victor Scott's on base and someone puts the ball in play, you have a very good chance of him scoring. And we need runs. We need runs. We have clearly seen that we need runs like bad. We're not talking about run support. We're talking about we need a lot of runs. We're going to need a lot of runs to win this year. We're going to have to average 6, 7. Just we're 5 games in. Maybe I'm overreacting, but we need some runs. And so I think that 1-2 punch. But again, JJ, another strong game. When he hit that, that ball into center, and next thing you know, like I said, Victor. It looks like Victor's going home for sure. JJ knows that, and he is 5 games in to his MLB career, and he already knows where they're going with the ball. He hauls ass to second base, turns a clear single into a double, just by knowing the game. I was like, yes, this is what we need. This is small ball. Turning singles into doubles, putting 2 runners into scoring position compared to 1, with setting up the double play. I'm like, yes, beautiful. If I was the coach, I'd be out there. Just kidding. So, anyways, look great. Second base, look fantastic. He's our second baseman. Even if he was hitting like shit, he's our second baseman. And that's fantastic. Had some great plays. Basically closed out the 9th for us, which is huge. So I love that. How about Urias? I know he's a veteran, but massive home run. Let's give $1,000 to Make-A-Wish Foundation. Love it. What more could you ask for? We're getting way more than we paid for, so I think that's awesome. Having a guy in the hot corner that he made some defensive plays, hit that home run. He really impressed me, and I'm really hoping that we get some stability out of that guy. To hopefully he's kind of our third baseman this year. If he can keep up with some of those defensive plays and really just kind of settle into third base along with the bat, we don't need 30 home runs. We just need a solid third baseman that puts the ball in play. That's kind of how this team is designed right now. And so that's essentially that's what Arenado was for us the last 2-3 years. He wasn't a power guy. He was more just a defensive weapon that also could put the ball in play when we needed it. And to be honest, that Urias 7th inning home run, that insurance home run, was, I feel like, the seal. 2 runs, worst lead in baseball, and to get up 3-0 going into, the last 6 outs, I thought that was fantastic. And so, Urias really impressed me tonight as well. Nolan Gorman. It's like, I wish I was that massive of a human being. I'm 5'8". 170. I don't even know how big, but I know he can hit the ball from Busch Stadium to basically my backyard, about 250 miles north. But he just doesn't do that very often. And when he does, like the other last night, a solo home run, we're down 4-1. All of a sudden we lose 4-2. And it's sick. Great. And I'm not even asking for 40 home runs like I am of Jordan Walker. But that's kind of his role. You know what I mean? He's not an above average defenseman. He's not, and that's the thing about, I keep going back to Arenado. Arenado was elite on defense. So you don't give a shit how he hits. You don't give it. No one gave a damn how Arenado hits, because if anybody hits towards third base, it's an out. Don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it. And so that's the thing that I have with Nolan Gorman is I wish him well. I hope he does well. I don't want him to not do well. But he's just not doing well. He's not hitting the ball. He's kind of putting the ball in play, but a lot of pop flies, a lot of ground outs. You know, he hits that home run when it's not crunch time. And so that's just a really tough place to play. And to be honest, when I look at it as like, we have power. We have Burley. To be honest, we have Jordan Walker, and Jordan Walker is contributing in right field. He has a nuke of an arm. And so it's so frustrating to watch Nolan Gorman. We rely on his bat. We do not rely on his defense at all. At all. Where in the defensive lineup is he above the replacement, you know? Over Urias? Probably not. Shit, I'd put Jordan Walker at third over Gorman after, you know. I take that back. Gorman's a decent third baseman. But he's a bat. He's a bat. He is born to hit home runs. And he should. He should hit a lot. And he has hit a lot. Like in the past. But the past 2 years, not so much. And it's so frustrating. He is a strikeout machine. He is a ground ball machine. He's a pop fly machine, which every once in a while, pop flies, great, you know. But that's not happening with runners on third. So that just makes it a little tough. Mason Wynn, additionally, different story. Struggling at the plate, which means we need to move him out of the fourth spot because it's not helping. We need to move him out of the fourth spot, but guess what? His ass is in the lineup. You know why? He is an elite shortstop. He's an elite shortstop. Whereas Nolan Gorman, we should send to AAA and bring up someone like Josh Baez to be a DH, right? Maybe I'm crazy. Comments down below, whatever. But it just, at the end of the day, Mason Wynn is struggling, but we know he can hit. He's 176. But I love the guy. I love him. Because he's fantastic at shortstop. If you hit the ball his way, he's either going to make a play out of it, or he's going to make the play. So there's not much more you can say about that. Nolan Gorman, not exactly the same. Kind of a potato versus tomato sort of situation. You know, you can't really compare the two, but you know, 3 hits on the season. He's struggling, but let's get him going. You know what I mean? Like, JJ's going to be our leadoff guy. So don't even worry about it. Put him at 7th. Let him heat up. Let him contribute. Let Victor Scott bring him in. And then Victor Scott's on base. And then JJ brings Victor Scott. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't know. Jojo Romero looked fantastic. Strikeout, 2 groundouts. All we saw. All we needed. You know, Stanek coming in at relief. I was like, hell yeah. You know, splitter. That splitter was disgusting. I was like, hell yeah. Let's go, Stanek. You know what I mean? And then good old Riley O'Brien. We're here for some Riley O'Brien. Nothing too crazy, but you know, he gets the save. Locked down in the 9th. You knew we were getting out of that. There was no question about it. You know? Just 2 ground outs, a fly out. I just thought, you know, it kind of takes you back to like the Ryan Helsley where, yeah, he has gas, but everybody expected gas. And so it's like he would always just have to make it interesting. He would always give up a home run or give up an extra base hit or whatever it may be, and always had to make it interesting. And then you win by one or something like that. Give up 2 earned runs, and then you win by one. And tonight, O'Brien, he just looked calm, cool, collected, and like surgical. And so I think he might be the closer. I think there's a good argument for JoJo, but then again, I really liked Riley O'Brien back there. So, coming into the ninth, I felt pretty confident that he was going to close it out, and closed out he did. 3 and out. Don't even worry about it. Let's go to bed. So yeah, was up all night last night. Apologies for not having one yesterday, because between the hours of about 11:30 midnight, when I was just finishing up my video yesterday, sure enough, my power went out, so that kind of sucked. But then again, we got through it, and we got to tonight, and it doesn't matter. We lost yesterday, so let's make one on a win. Cardinals win 3-0 over the Mets. Don't know if I'd rather be sitting here like at night doing it. You know what I mean? Like tomorrow, I get to watch it at work, which is a huge dub. Talk about my Wednesday being absolutely gone. Who cares? You know what I mean? 12:15 to 3:30. Don't talk to me. Watching the Cards, So yeah, tomorrow, last game of the series. Let's go get a dub. Cards win at 3-0 over the Mets. And I love this team. And so let's go Birds. Let's go Birds. Let's go get them tomorrow. We'll try and make another episode tomorrow night. And with that, this is Andy Hanson with I-70 Sports Media, bringing you Andy's Angle. You have a wonderful night, and peace.